always loved my war movies, you know, Saving Private Ryan, The Patriot. That could be taken in a bad way because, you know, JJ, why the heck do you like the violence? But, you know, how many more movies of this can I take? But I'm always going to go see these because they always give me a perspective on my life today, and it interests me because this stuff happened in our history. Without these battles happening, then we wouldn't be the world that we are today. Let me just first start off by saying I had no idea that this was actually a Russian film. I had no idea that it was going to be absolutely 100% all subtitles. Obviously, I have no problem listening to movies with subtitles because I'm used to it with my anime that I watch. If you are not interested in any movie that is full of subtitles, then just move on. You can just watch my next review. But if you're still interested, keep watching. Anyway, so let's begin. This movie is obviously based on the battle in Stalingrad, which lasted about 6 months between 1942 to 1943 during World War II. Those of you that know the history, this was a huge battle. It was a bloodbath. It's horrifying to know that all of that happened. So in this story, it is based on these Russian soldiers that are fighting to defend this one strategic building that they have in Stalingrad. A German army that is placed lower in the city. The place is already devastated. It's completely in ruins. In this movie, there are some women interests, and that kind of becomes a conflict. It distracts them from what they really need to be focusing on, which is the war. Acting in this movie, I was impressed with. I am pretty critical of the acting in movies, but in this one, I felt the emotion with these people, so I thought the acting was really well done. I only recognized one of the actors. I knew it was the guy from Wanted, Thomas Kretschmann. I think that's how you say it. I think my favorite character throughout the whole thing was Khan, and he was the captain of the German army. He was very disappointed in the way that he was living his life, how it took a huge toll on him, and he was projecting his anger through other things, and how he regretted his life, so he focused all of that onto this girl named Masha. And they made us feel sympathy for how he was playing his part in this war. But at the same time, he was ruthless, the Russians, so he had his anger towards them, and he wanted them dead. Kind of caught myself irritated with the girl in the movie, who is this 19-year-old Russian girl who lived in the apartment building, and she felt a connection to it. She didn't want to leave it. So she stayed while these Russian soldiers came in. It's about 10 men, I believe. But at the same time, I did like her because she felt sympathy for the men, and she really wanted to connect with them and be a part of what they were going through. I understand how they all felt a connection towards her because they want to distract themselves from this horrific scene that's going outside of this building, this war. They want to focus themselves on the love that they felt towards this girl, Katya. So that's what I did like about those characters, but at the same time I wish I would have saw some more depth into what made these soldiers who they were. I feel like there were definitely some characters in there just to kind of fill in time. They didn't really need those characters. They didn't focus enough on that character to let me feel a connection or some sympathy or anything for that character. And then they made a big deal when they died. But I didn't get to know him well enough to feel horrible when he died. Okay, effects. You know, there are some points in movies where I'm like, oh, that's total green screen, that looks terrible. Well, this was convincing. I think the only thing that I didn't like was how they constantly had to do slow motion to show how epic a battle was. I mean, that makes sense if you want to show slow motion and make the epicness whatever, but every 30 seconds it was, you know, slow motion jumping or slow motion grabbing for his gun. Just every 30 seconds, you gotta like calm that down a little bit. It wasn't too much. You know, it wasn't a Michael Bay movie where everything was exploding. Obviously, it's a war movie and most everything is exploding, but it wasn't, they didn't make it so fake and so dramatic. say, I wouldn't give them a 10 out of 10, but they were definitely awesome. In the beginning of this movie, when the title was going, I instantly was drawn to the soundtrack of this. If you're gonna draw me in with the music and make me think this is gonna be a good movie just with the music, then I'm impressed. But it's not necessarily something that I would buy and listen to on my own. I'm gonna admit that I was starting to get bored throughout the movie. Unfortunately, the pacing wasn't all that great. I felt like there was too much unwanted dialogue and not enough information on the actual war and how it was affecting the characters. I caught myself yawning at some points when there were fight scenes. And you would think that I wouldn't be yawning because obviously this is intense stuff, but like I said, with the slow motion, that kind of made it just drag on. But the end definitely proved to me, and it kind of proved itself as a war movie and how the war can affect an individual so much to want to watch it again when it comes out on DVD or on pay-per-view, because that's what made me feel more of a connection towards Katya, because she played a bigger part in the end. My overall with this movie is a 6, which is not bad. And if you are interested in seeing what my rating system is, just look below and you'll see a whole list of 1 through 10 from my perspective what exactly that they mean. I want as much feedback in this as I can get because this is for you guys. I want you guys to watch these, help you decide whether you want to see the movie or not. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next time, friends.